Afternoon and welcome to Techopia Live. Thank you very much for joining us here today. If you're watching this right now, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us. And also if you're watching this a little bit later on or listening to it as you are doing any work or maybe standing in the kitchen for that matter, thank you so much for listening, and make sure that you share this content with as many people within the tech community as possible, as once again we are geared here at Techopia to showcase what's happening within the tech community and once again informing you of all the great things that's happening both locally and on a global perspective. With me today, I'm very excited. I'm actually always excited when I talk to people. I find I say that every single time I start this, but it truly is a sincere enthusiasm because we have the ability to talk to some amazing people and talk about some really cool and creative ideas. Here with me today, the founder, CEO, president, man behind it all, Mike McNaught from RVezy. Thank you so much for taking the time for joining us today.
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit. So, Canada's such a beautiful country. Yes, there is people that own RVs and own those motorhomes. And yes, there is people that's definitely gone through that experience or considered being a part of that experience itself. But there has been, certain obstacles in the way and so on and so forth. But your company has really stepped up to the plate and done something really creative and really empowering that industry and also creating new opportunities and new experiences for people. But let's talk a little bit firstly, what is RVezy and maybe how that came to fruition? How did this idea make it from just an idea to actually, coming to something that we can actually tangibly see and feel?
So I'll give you a bit of the founder's story. I've been an outdoor enthusiast, right? I used to be a canoe guide in Northern Ontario, camping my entire life. Loved RVing forever. Bought a motorhome for my family about 3 years ago, and I'm using it maybe 2-4 weeks out of the year. 11 months out of the year, it's sitting in the driveway collecting dust, not doing anything. I'm very entrepreneurial. I own a couple of rental properties and thought, maybe there's a market. Maybe I can rent it out when I wasn't using it. I kind of blew my own mind. In the first 8 weeks, I made about $10,000 renting it out, and knew kind of immediately that, I think I'm onto something. There's a bit of a market here. But immediately noticed there were some problems with what I was doing. I had no way of verifying who these people were renting my RV. No way of checking their driver's license, their driving history, insurance. There's really no background check involved. On the same side, they have really no way of checking me out, right? They're sending money directly to me in hopes that they're going to get a security deposit back or that I'm going to even deliver the RV. I've ran into, there was a lady last year I ran into, she had rented a motorhome through a classified ad and she had sent thousands of dollars, about $2,000 to reserve it. She showed up to pick it up and there's no RV and there's another 5 people waiting there to pick up the same thing that doesn't exist. So immediately I noticed that there's a bit of a market here. Over the winter time, it was really driving in my head and thinking that there's got to be some sort of marketplace available. And looked around and couldn't find anything. There really was no Airbnb for RVs. My background, I'm a police officer. About a year and a half ago, I was pretty seriously injured on the job. I was attacked making an arrest, and I had to go through surgery and some rehab and was off for a considerable amount of time. Having a bit of troubles being sidelined, it's a big adjustment, a big shock kind of to your lifestyle when that happens. And I reached out to a good friend of mine and kind of approached him about this business idea I've been having, saying, there's no Airbnb for RVs. And that's kind of the day, that's when RVezy was born. And so what RVezy is, it's an RV sharing marketplace, an RV rental marketplace. So if people own an RV, you can list it on our website all across Canada. And if people looking to rent an RV, they can log onto the website, search for different types of RVs, and you're renting directly from a private owner. And what makes it kind of unique and differentiates from how things how I used to do it, is that we have partnered with the same insurance company that developed the insurance for Uber, right? The insurance industry in Canada is highly regulated, and there's never been a product that will properly insure your private vehicle when you're renting it. Kind of really interesting industry where you can't have a mixed use policy, a personal/commercial policy. So, thankfully Uber kind of paved the way in that industry, and we teamed up with those same guys and they developed an insurance product for the RV rental marketplace. So when your RV is rented, it falls under our commercial insurance, and when you get it back, it goes back to your personal insurance. So now, and through that process, we're able to verify the renters, do background checks, verify driver's licenses, and provide that sense of security to RV owners that instead of having that RV in the driveway, you can use it as a bit of an investment and an asset and rent it out.
Okay.
I know a lot of information.
No. This is all great information. I mean, once again, I think we really want to understand how this really works. And I love the fact that you say it's a pretty simple explanation. We use the same insurance as Uber use, and they paved the way. Now, it's interesting that, as Uber has become a part more and more of our daily lives, and this sharing economy, I mean, has that changed, just that, I guess it's opened up that opportunity for you as a company where you're like, okay, we realize that people do want to share what they have. They don't want to just to sit in the driveway. They don't want to just buy something once and never use it again, or use it a few times, or end up giving away or selling it at a really low price. Your company's obviously said, okay, great, we have an industry in a market that really wants to help support that sharing economy. Maybe you can share with me a little bit here in Canada, and especially the fact that we're known here in Canada that our baby boomers are more and more of the population as time progressed. We just recently had a survey come out as well that gave it a really high number as part of the Canadian population. Do you see now RVezy playing a really key role in empowering even just our baby boomers, just the aging population, or even just the opportunity to say, hey, listen, you can consider RVs now as an investment instead of just a property?
And I think we've seen that over the last 10 years that, the sharing economy in whole has just grown substantially. That, people now look further outside the box of other ways of, generating a bit of an income on some of your assets. We see it from sharing your house. You can rent out your own car, bicycle sharing, like it's kind of all over the place. And I kind of see that where people are looking for those different opportunities. And it's just grown, and you're seeing, like you said, the baby boomers are retiring. They're looking for maybe a different way of offsetting some of their income, and using the assets that they have to do that. We've seen it with people renting out their own homes on Airbnb, and I think this is just a really great way of now using that inventory. There's over 1.5 million RVs across the country, and the statistic is 11 months out of the year they sit in the driveway. Right, the typical RV owner is that 35-year-old mom and dad with an 8 and 10-year-old kid, and they buy it and they have great aspirations of going camping every weekend, and competitive sports come into play, gymnastics, they get busy, and suddenly this $40,000, $50,000 RV no longer gets used. So I think this is just a really great way for just average everyday Canadians to kind of jump in there and get a little more value out of what they've purchased.
Now, if you think the word, and once again, I think what you're doing is you're also kind of changing the perception of buying an RV, because in the past, once again, as you say, it's a huge investment, and now I could never really afford that, or even rent that for that matter, because it would cost thousands of dollars just for 1 week. But you're really trying to lower that cost, trying to give people that opportunity to say, hey, listen, even if you buy this as an asset, you can rent it out frequently, but even if you don't own it as an asset, but you want to rent it, you make that more affordable. How's that playing?
And so that's one kind of our overall goals at RVezy. We really want to make RV travel affordable. And by making RV travel affordable, there's two ends to that. As an owner, if you want to get into the RV industry and purchase one, it's a considerable investment. It's about the second most expensive asset you're ever going to own. And it's really tough to justify spending thousands of dollars a year on an asset that you're going to use 2 to 4 weeks out of the year. So by making RV travel affordable, you can now purchase that asset, use it, and then rent it out when you're not using it. Then on the other side, from the renting standpoint, kind of the typical rental options, traditionally, you're renting from the big fleet companies, the big dealerships, and just on average, a motorhome from those places, you're paying $2,500 to $3,000 a week. It's really just out of reach to everyday Canadians. They've really marketed themselves towards a European traveler coming to Canada, and there hasn't really been an affordable option for Canadians. But now when you're in the sharing economy, you're able to access an affordable rental option, rent from your neighbor, they're getting money back in their pocket to kind of support the ownership side, and the renters getting an affordable rental option. So really everyone involved in this transaction is gaining something, right? So that's really what we're striving to do, is just to make RV travel affordable in Canada, because I think we all know it's such a huge pastime of Canadians all across the country.
Now let's talk just a little bit about this. You touched briefly earlier that you come from a policing background as well, and now you're in the technology field slash rentals. Once again, it's outdoors, it's rental, it's really within your wheelhouse. But it's also, once again, that transition from someone that's really not been in the technology field to really been on a platform now that's really trying to make this as easy and as user-friendly as possible. How's that transition been for you?
So I've been kind of fortunate as well in my policing career. I have a bit of a tech background involved in some of the tech units, and really that's what we are, right? We're a technology first platform, and it's utilizing the technology to bring renters and owners together. And when we first came up with the idea and first wanted to launch, we went out there, we built the website, we built our minimum viable product, and we really wanted to test the market and see whether there was a supply and a demand for the marketplace. It was a very, very quick answer. It came back that there's a really big market in Canada for this, and so now it's utilizing that technology and building that ecosystem of RV enthusiasts and providing the different, it's the technology, right? You want to be able to provide different search options. It's the back end support. It's the tracking. We're really a tech company, although it is an RV rental marketplace. It's tech driven.
So maybe you can share with me a little bit, what does the future look like for RVezy? And by the way, if you're watching this here, if you just joined us, we are interviewing Mike McNaught, the CEO and founder of RVezy, which is a phenomenal RV rental platform. And just give me that little bit of insight. A lot's happened now over the last year, and you have a lot, I'm sure, planned for the future. What's kind of the next step for RVezy?
Yeah, so we've been up for about 12 months. The website's been live for 12 months, and again, we wanted to get out there, really test the marketplace. We developed and we released our Ontario insurance product. So all RVs listed on the website in the province of Ontario are covered under our insurance. Very shortly, we're rolling out our national policy, so something covered nationally, and then we're going to be looking at new markets, right? We all know, especially Canadians, a lot of Canadians like to head south and go down to Florida in the winter time and do some traveling down there. It's a very big market, and for RVezy, it's obviously kind of the next step for us. But you know what? There are people RV worldwide. Denmark, the UK. Sweden, Finland, all these countries also have a lot of RVs. So the hopes are high and the dreams are big, and it's just keeping growing and moving forward as a company.
Absolutely. Now, and I'll touch on just one more aspect. What I like about your platform as well is you're very focused on one category, which is the RVs itself. How important was that for you as a company to really understand this realm really, really well and really focus on that?
So I just think that's really important as a startup in general, is really define your focus and maintain your focus. So there's a lot of other platforms or variety we could have added, but staying specific to RVs I think was really important for us, but also to provide the variety. Right, so we want to be more than just a rental marketplace, but more of an ecosystem for RVers, right? So we have a lot of resources for blogs, for mechanics, different resources just for the RV industry as a whole. So we have the complete variety of RVs. If you want to come in and rent a tent trailer for a weekend, or if you want to rent that luxurious $200,000 motorhome, they're all available. Right, and we kind of see that progression with people getting into the RV industry. They start off camping with something a little smaller, and they kind of move up as they go along and get a little more comfort and a little more amenities with their RV.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for joining us today, and thank you for sharing. So for those of you that are considering getting an RV, for those of you that want to rent an RV, for those of you that have an RV, go to RVezy.com. That's RVezy.com. And go check out what these guys are all about. We're so proud to have you here once again in our city, and looking forward to what this company is going to evolve to over the next few months and years and so on and so forth. But congratulations and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, guys.